Most people think they'll be paying fewer taxes in retirement. That's understandable because you're no longer earning a paycheck. But unfortunately, that won't be the case for many hardworking Americans. In fact, you could be paying even more tax in retirement because you could owe taxes when you withdraw money from your IRAs and 401ks, taxes on your Social Security benefits, taxes on your investment income, and more. And before you know it, your retirement savings could be a fraction of what they are today. Hello, I'm Chris Abts from Cornerstone Wealth Management, and you are watching Redefining Retirement. If you're like most folks, you spent years putting money into your tax-deferred retirement account, so things like your IRA and your 401k. And all too often, your IRA or 401k, they make up a large portion of your assets. And because these funds have never been taxed, this is likely going to be your biggest tax liability in retirement. And because taxes are set to increase on January 1st, 2026, most people who are already retired or are planning to retire within the next 5 years, they're really concerned about how these higher tax rates will impact them. So coming up on today's show, we're going to look at 10 different strategies that you can use to reduce the taxes on your IRA and 401k distributions, as well as possibly even reduce the amount of money you're required to take out. Here's what's coming up. So one example could be your medical expenses. Maybe those are higher than normal in a particular year. Now that might give you an opportunity to distribute more from your IRA and pay less tax. So here's what I recommend when it comes to reducing the tax liability in your IRA and 401k. Do not wait until you're 70 or 72 to address this. Get out in front of your RMDs way before you retire, ideally between the ages of 55 and 60. I'm really excited about today's topic. Sit back and relax. Redefining Retirement starts right here, right now. Saving and accumulating assets for your retirement is a good start, but it's what you do with your money that really matters. So how are you going to reduce your taxes, generate your income, pay for the skyrocketing costs of healthcare? How will you optimize your Social Security benefits? Welcome to Redefining Retirement. I'm Chris Abts from Cornerstone Wealth Management, and this is where you can count on straightforward and objective advice on the toughest challenges that you'll face in retirement. You've likely spent a pretty good portion of your entire working career up to this point putting money into your retirement account, so things like your IRA or your 401k. And I bet your CPA has recommended that every year you put money into those retirement accounts to get a tax break. I bet your employer has encouraged you to put money into your 401k. Maybe they even provided a matching contribution. I bet your financial advisor has recommended that you fund your retirement accounts. So everybody has told you to put money into these retirement accounts. Everybody. And odds are the money in your retirement accounts probably represents a significant portion of your net worth, your retirement assets. Now, all those retirement accounts, so those are 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, 457s, deferred comp, SEP IRA, and the list goes on, they all have two things in common. Do you know what those are? Pretty simple. The first one is all that money has never been taxed. It's never been taxed. And the second thing that they all have in common is that that money must come out during your retirement years. And I want to share something with you. For as long as I can remember, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, that we've been told that when we retire, we will be in a lower tax bracket. Folks, I've been in this industry for well over 30 years, and in my experience, nothing could be farther from the truth. Think about it. When you retire, you will have fewer tax deductions. For a simple example, you can no longer claim your children as dependents even if they move back in with you. Then all the money that you put into those retirement accounts, when you did this over your entire working career, that money will have to come out. And for millions of people, that will put you into a higher tax bracket at a time when you no longer have the tax deductions that you were used to. So here's an important question I have for you. What is your plan to remove this money from your retirement accounts and not pay a boatload in income tax? Odds are you don't have a plan, do you? And I see this just about every day when we meet with people that walk into our office. They come into our office every day to meet with our advisory team. We listen to them as they talk about their goals and their concerns, and inevitably, they have absolutely no idea how much tax liability is lurking inside their retirement accounts. So on today's show, we're going to take a look at just how much tax that is, and then I'm going to share with you 10 different ways that you just might want to consider to reduce the income tax liability on your retirement accounts and possibly even avoid having to take those required minimum distributions. So to begin, I want to introduce you to this nice couple. Let's call them Brian and Laura. Now Brian, he's 60 years of age, and they have worked hard and they've saved. And today, we're focusing on their tax-deferred retirement accounts where they've got a pretty good portion of their money invested, probably just like you. And their plan is to retire in a few years. And since it's new to them, they wanted to, as I say, learn the questions to ask and the problems to solve before they move forward and make those important financial decisions. Now, from an investment perspective, they wanted to reduce the risk. They wanted to earn a conservative 5 to 6% rate of return, and they told us that their initial plan was to not touch their tax-deferred retirement accounts, their IRA and 401k, until they have to start their required minimum distributions, which is now at age 73. So until then, their plan was to live off of their pension, Social Security, some savings, and until that time. So they're not going to pull out any money from their IRA and 401k until they reach age 73. And then each year thereafter, they're just going to pull out that required minimum distribution. And they felt pretty good that at least one of them will make it to age 90. It's pretty typical these days. So let's find out what their future looks like. So we ran the analysis. Now, one of the questions we wanted to know was, when they start their required minimum distributions at age 73, how much are they required to take out? Now, if the money they have to take out, if it's in line with the amount of money they need to live the lifestyle they want, well, hey, no problem. But if the money they're required to take out is significantly greater than the amount that they want to take out to live the lifestyle they want, then I'd say that's a problem. So here's why. If you're required to take more than you want, then that additional amount is what I call a forced withdrawal. Because that's exactly what it is. Money that you are forced to take out and pay tax on, even if you don't want or need the money. And because income tax rates are set to increase on January 1, 2026, then doesn't that mean that you will be forced to take money out that you don't want to take out at a time when tax rates will be higher? It's kind of like sitting at the table after dinner. You say, hey, it was a fantastic dinner, and you're full, you are stuffed. You couldn't possibly eat anymore. But the person that invited you to the table forces you to eat another 1 or 2 plates of food. How would that make you feel? Well, that's the equivalent of what happens if you're forced to take more from your retirement accounts than you want to take. And for this couple, Brian and Laura, they were forced to take an additional $30,000 from their IRA. So $30,000 more than they wanted when they reach age 73. Next, we asked a follow-up question, which was, what will happen in, say, 10 years? What happens to that forced withdrawal? Does it get bigger? Let's take a look. So over the first 10 years, their forced withdrawal, it went from $30,000 to $100,000 a year. So just over the first 10-year period, in their situation, the amount of money they were forced to take from their IRA, meaning the money they didn't need, money they didn't want to withdraw, increased from $30,000 to $100,000 a year. So what does that mean to them? Think about that. When they're pulling out these big chunks of money, are they pulling them out today when taxes are lower? No, they're pulling these big chunks out later when taxes are higher. And at some point, they will pass away. And they plan to leave the balance of their IRA to their children. How much will be left in those accounts? Well, in their situation, they're projecting that there will still be about $1 million left in that IRA, which ends up being taxable to their kids. And according to today's tax laws, all of that money must be paid out within 10 years from when they pass away, which in turn, that creates a whole different tax liability. So bottom line, for years, everybody told them to keep putting money into their retirement accounts. So until they walked into our office and had the analysis run, nobody ever showed them what the consequences of that would look like. And over the past couple years, there have been several things that we've been able to control. But this area, taking back control of the taxes that you'll pay during your retirement, this is an area where you can really take back control, which can give you more confidence in retirement. So here's the bottom line. taxes will likely be your biggest expense in retirement. And you may be massively underestimating the taxes that you'll end up paying over this phase of your life, especially due to the fact that taxes are again scheduled to increase in January 1, 2026. But right now, today, there are strategies that you might be able to take advantage of to dramatically reduce those taxes with a free Cornerstone Retirement Tax Savings Analysis. Here's how this works. First, we'll get some basic information from you. We'll determine the tax saving strategies best suited for your specific situation. Then we'll sit down and we'll share these strategies with you so that you can see exactly how much money you could save in retirement. These strategies could save you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, if you saved at least $250,000 for your retirement, give us a call to schedule your free analysis. Now, if I had $1 for every time someone asked me, hey, do I have to take my required minimum distributions? Or is there anything I can do to reduce the tax on my distributions? The answer is there are many strategies you can use to reduce your tax liability and possibly even avoid having to take those distributions. So coming up next, I'm going to share with you 10 different strategies that you might be able to use. We'll be right back.
Approaching retirement requires a shift in how you view your investment and income portfolio. Are you making the transition successfully? Author Chris Abts, in his latest book, Maximizing Your Income, will show you how to structure your income while avoiding 10 retirement pitfalls. You'll also learn 3 strategies to create sustainable retirement income. Learn to plan for potential healthcare costs and how to avoid 4 common yet costly Social Security mistakes. The information you gain from this book may help you retire sooner and help you stay retired. Get your complimentary copy today at MaximizingYourIncome.com and take control of your retirement.
If you'd like more information about financial planning, industry news, and market updates, you can subscribe to our blog. Visit our website at cornerstoneway.com. The resource request box is located on the bottom right-hand corner of the homepage. There you can submit your information to subscribe to our blog.
At Cornerstone, we believe you should be able to enjoy the retirement you have always wanted. To help you see your retirement strategy from all angles, we created a retirement roadmap, which is designed to help you discover the knowledge you need to take control of your money and live a confident retirement regardless of what challenges arise. So you envision the life you want to live, and we can help you create a plan that leads you down that path. Join us for a conversation about your vision for your ideal retirement by calling the trusted professionals at Cornerstone.
Before the break, we learned that your biggest tax liability is likely your tax-deferred retirement accounts, which may force you into higher tax brackets, which can also create higher taxes on things like your Social Security benefits, your other income sources, as well as increasing your Medicare premiums. So let's look at 10 strategies that you can consider to reduce your tax liability and possibly avoid having to take those required distributions. So let's jump in. The first strategy you can use to reduce your income tax liability and your IRA distributions, those are deductions. Now, when your tax return is prepared, you either take what's known as the standard deduction or you can itemize your deductions. Now, obviously, you want to use the one that gives you the better tax deduction. So let's say you have a year where your deductions are higher than normal. So one example could be your medical expenses. Maybe those are higher than normal in a particular year. Now that might give you an opportunity to distribute more from your IRA and pay less tax. Now another method is to group those expenses together. So some people do that. Second, past tax bills, they remove many of these common write-offs, things like maybe interest on a home equity line of credit, your mortgage deduction, things like that, which then make it harder for you to itemize your expenses. So one strategy that you might want to consider is referred to as bunching. And that means to bunch your expenses together. So here's an example. If you can, defer some of your expenses from this year into next year. Or do the opposite, combine some of your standard yearly expenses into this year. So some examples would be things like healthcare, maybe charitable gifts. So pull some of those future expenses into this year. Now, in doing so, you might be able to itemize one year, then take the standard deduction the following year. So as a result of being tax smart this way, your effective tax rate may be less in some years, and then it might reduce taxes on those IRA withdrawals, and then maybe even create some additional tax planning opportunities in maybe some other areas. Now, the next strategy that might be available to you to reduce taxes on those IRA distributions, this is known as offsetting. So here's an example. In this case, let's use interest. Now, remember the story of the couple that I shared with you before the break? This couple, they didn't need their full required minimum distribution each year. And since they really didn't need that entire RMD, they really didn't like the fact that they would have to pay tax on that money every year. Now, they had 3 kids, and their second grandchild was on the way. And their family was very important to them. And they loved spending time with their family. So I suggested they consider purchasing a second home that might be used for family gatherings. Now, an option they had available to them was to structure their RMDs to make the mortgage payments, which they did. Now, not only did they get the benefit of the vacation home, which they love, because they know their grandkids will come and visit, but also the taxable income from the IRA, it's offset by the taxable interest on the mortgage. So net result, no tax liability, and at the same time, they're creating some great memories with their family. So some people do that. Now let's move on to the fourth strategy that I want to share with you. And this is just another one that maybe you can use to reduce the amount of taxes you have to pay on those retirement accounts. Now, I've shared with you how to creatively use deductions to reduce your tax liability. So let's now talk about tax credits. Because if you like tax deductions, then you're going to love tax credits. You see, a deduction, it shaves money off of your taxable income. So the value of that deduction, it depends on your tax bracket. For example, if you're in the 25% tax bracket, a $1,000 tax deduction, it lowers your tax liability by $250 because 25% of $1,000 is $250. Now, on the other hand, a tax credit, it lowers your tax bill dollar for dollar. So a $1,000 tax credit lowers your tax bill by the full $1,000, no matter which tax bracket you're in. So one example could be oil. The oil industry, it's ripe with tax credits. In fact, there are ways to invest in specific types of oil investments and get a tax credit equal to or actually greater than your original investment. Now, using this strategy, you still take your RMDs from your IRA or those other retirement accounts, but now you have this tax credit to offset that tax liability. So this one is pretty cool. So some people do that. Now, the fifth strategy or concept to reduce taxes on those retirement accounts, it's called a QLAC. That stands for Qualified Lifetime Annuity Contract. Now, this strategy, it actually reduces the amount you're required to take out. You see, a few years ago, Congress passed this law that allows you to not have to include the value of your entire IRA when you determine or calculate your RMD. So put another way, it is an IRA account that is exempt from RMDs until you were 85 years of age. So it is a way that you can defer RMDs on some of your IRA for another 15 years. Pretty cool, right? So some people do that. Now, strategy number 6 to reduce the tax liability in those retirement accounts over your retirement years, I call this income structuring. And it simply means combining your taxable income sources, your tax-deferred income sources, and your tax-free income sources in such a way that you reduce your total income tax liability, both in this year as well as long-term into the future. So here's an example. If you have 2 people, Mark and Susan, let's call them Mark and Susan, each at the same age, same income, same assets, same tax bracket, same everything. Imagine Mark takes his Social Security benefits at age 62 and then waits to take his RMDs at age 73. That's when he's required to do it. Susan, she does just the opposite. She begins distributions from her IRA when she retires, and she defers her Social Security benefits until she's 70. All else being equal, Mark will have less income and pay significantly more income tax than Susan during his retirement years. So income structuring simply means to structure your income in such a way as to reduce your total income tax liability. That's another great way to manage the tax liability on your required distributions. So some people do that. So there you go. So far, that's 6 different strategies that you might want to consider to reduce the taxes on your IRA distributions, as well as possibly even reduce the amount of money you're required to take out. Now, Over the past few years, there have been several things we've been unable to control, but this area, taking back control of the taxes you will pay during your retirement, this is an area where you can take back control, which can give you more confidence in retirement. So here's the bottom line. Taxes will likely be your biggest expense in retirement, and you may be massively underestimating the taxes you'll end up paying over this phase of your life. But right now, there are strategies that you might be able to take advantage of to dramatically reduce those taxes with a free Cornerstone Retirement Tax Savings Analysis. So here's how this works. First, we'll get some basic information from you. We'll determine the tax saving strategies best suited for your situation. Then we'll sit down and share those strategies with you so you can see exactly how much money you could save in retirement. Now these strategies, they could save you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you've saved at least $250,000 for your retirement, give us a call to schedule your free analysis. And coming up next, I'll share with you 4 more strategies to help you to be tax smart when it comes to your retirement accounts. We'll be right back.
When you have confidence in your retirement future, you can live the life you've always imagined. Because of planning, you now have time to reflect on the wonderful memories of your life. Spend fun times with your grandkids, sharing the joy of their excitement about life. At last, you have time to breathe and rekindle the love of your life. Why? Because you imagined what could be. You planned for retirement. So today, you own your future.
For trustworthy fiduciary-based guidance, call 775-853-9033.
Approaching retirement requires a shift in how you view your investment and income portfolio. Are you making the transition successfully? Author Chris Abts, in his latest book, Maximizing Your Income, will show you how to structure your income while avoiding 10 retirement pitfalls. You'll also learn 3 strategies to create sustainable retirement income. Learn to plan for potential healthcare costs and how to avoid 4 common yet costly Social Security mistakes. The information you gain from this book may help you retire sooner and help you stay retired. Get your complimentary copy today at MaximizingYourIncome.com and take control of your retirement.
Stay informed on the latest news and events affecting retirees at CornerstoneWay.com.
Welcome back. This week, we're asking the question, what is your IRA exit strategy? Your retirement accounts, they probably represent your greatest tax liability in retirement. You've been putting money into these accounts over your entire working career. It's like putting that frog in the water and slowly bringing it to a boil. So what are you doing to be tax smart? Before the break, I shared 6 strategies with you to help you reduce the tax in your distributions and possibly even reduce the amount you'll have to take as an RMD. So here's 4 more strategies. The 7th one is to reduce your future RMD by doing some partial Roth conversions. So it's a great strategy to combine with some of the strategies we discussed before the break. So let me share a story with you to explain this concept. There was this couple that was paying about $30,000 a year in income tax. They had just retired. They were taking distributions from their retirement accounts. And by taking advantage of 2 of these strategies, tax deductions and income structuring, they were able to reduce their annual tax liability from $30,000 a year down to about $5,000 a year. So that's a savings of $25,000 a year in tax savings. Next, because they were now in a lower tax bracket, they started to convert about $100,000 of their IRA each year for a total of 5 years from their IRA to their Roth. Now, while this annual conversion, while it did create some tax liability, keep in mind that they were now in a lower tax bracket when the conversions happened. So Roth conversions are good, but they are awesome when they're combined with some of the other tax reduction strategies. So some people do that. Now, another strategy for you to consider to reduce the income tax liability in your retirement accounts, we'll call this strategy number 8, is to take advantage of any charitable intent that you have. So you can give a portion, you can give all of your required or your RMD to charity and not have to report that amount as taxable income. Now, there are a couple of restrictions, such as the gift must go directly to the charity and the total amount cannot exceed $100,000 a year, but it's a great strategy when you have some charitable intent. So some people do that. Strategy number 9 to reduce the tax on your RMDs. This one is designed to legally defer your RMD until a later date. It's called a quadro, and that stands for Qualified Domestic Relations Order. Now, typically, quadro is used to divide a retirement account between a husband and wife in a divorce, but it can also be an effective tool for a married couple to defer their required distributions. So in effect, a quadro can move some or all of a retirement account from one spouse to the other without creating a tax liability. So here's how it works. Let's say the husband is 7 years older than the wife. Let's pretend they want to reduce the amount of distributions that they have to take, or maybe they want to reduce the amount of distributions they'll have to take when the husband reaches 73. So they could use a quadro to transfer some or all of his retirement account, whatever they want, from his name to her name. End result, when he turns 73, there are no RMDs because the retirement account is no longer in his name. And because it's now in her name, there will be no RMDs until she is 73. So some people do that. And for the last strategy I'll share with you today, strategy number 10, for you to reduce the tax on your required distributions from your retirement accounts, this one is really simple. Consider moving some of the money in your IRA or other retirement accounts into a Roth up to the ceiling of your current tax bracket. So every year, you could move some of the money in your IRA over to a Roth, just enough to put you at the top of your current tax bracket. So there you go. 10 strategies that you can use to reduce the tax on what might just be your greatest tax liability in retirement. In other words, 10 strategies that you can use to be tax smart. So here's what I recommend when it comes to reducing the tax liability in your IRA and 401k. Do not wait until you're 70 or 72 to address this. Get out in front of your RMDs way before you retire, ideally between the ages of 55 and 60. This problem isn't going to go away, it's only going to get worse. And the sooner you address it, the more options you have that could save you a very large amount in tax. And that's why we put something together for you. I want you to learn how you can dramatically reduce your taxes in retirement with our free, customized Cornerstone Retirement Tax Savings Analysis. Here's how this works. First, we get some basic information from you. We'll determine the retirement tax saving strategies best suited for your specific situation. Then we'll sit down and share these strategies with you so you can see exactly how much you could save in retirement. The savings could be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you've saved at least $250,000 for retirement, give us a call to schedule a free analysis. That's our show, and hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for watching.
Jolly good show.